So I've made a few videos now and I haven't done one of these book talk newbie tags, so I figured now's a good time as any to kind of have you all get to know me and what I guess I hope to achieve on this platform. I'm Hannah, the paperback cruncher. I am 30 years old as of the time of this video. I am on Book Talk, Bookstagram, Twitter, all of the things, and most recently, booktube. Before we get started on the actual 11 questions, I do have to say my Speak Now cardigan just arrived in the mail yesterday, and I have no business wearing this right now. It is literally 90 degrees outside still, and I have turned off the fan in the library so that our sound quality is better in here. So do appreciate the beauty of the cardigan and the fact that I am sweating for the content. All right, that being said, let's get started. Number one, why did you start this channel? What a loaded question. I guess we're not starting off easy with these. I think it's a couple different reasons for sure. Number one, I'm already on TikTok, Book Talk, Bookstagram, Instagram. I dabble on Twitter. I've never really super tapped into the community over there, unfortunately. And I just figured this is the next step. There's a whole other community over here. They talk about books differently. You get to create differently. So it's a new skill set to explore. And so I just wanted to try it out, see what it's all about, hopefully meet some new friends, find some different book recommendations, diversify my reading even further, and just pick up some new skills. Number two, what are some fun and unique things that you can bring to booktube? Well, first of all, booktube has a zillion amazing creators already, so I don't want to discredit any of them or think that anything I'm gonna do is absolutely better by any means. However, the one thing I can bring, I guess, is myself and my personality. So I'm super excited about that. Wow, this really starts to feel like an interview. It's kind of formal, so let's try to make it a little bit more fun. Fun things I can bring. Well, of course, my library. My library is literally custom, so no one else is gonna have this. We had the company who designed our kitchen cabinets design these shelves so it matches our house. So we've got me, we've got my library. I think I've got pretty cool fashion sense, so I like to combine that with books and have fun with it. And I have a huge love of movies and TV, so I'm hoping to kind of incorporate that into some of my reading challenges. And I'm very outgoing, in case you couldn't tell, so I think that's a really fun and unique thing that I bring. A lot of readers tend to be pretty shy and quiet, so I don't mind being the friend to reach out and make the first move, and I'm really hoping to meet a lot of cool booktubers, do cool reading sprints, reading challenges, readathons, and all of that. That kind of ties into question number three. It's a little bit similar. So what are you most excited for about this new channel? So like I said, definitely the friends, but I'm also really excited to learn some new skills. I'm definitely a bit of a perfectionist, so it's hard for me to start something new and not be immediately amazing at it, unfortunately. I feel like I've got a pretty good handle on Bookstagram and Book Talk. I know what I'm doing over there, and so I'm excited to kind of come over here and have to try some new things. You have to edit differently. I mean, you have to film differently. There's a lot of different things that you have to try and to do on this platform. So I'm just excited to learn how to do all the things, but then also find my own style with it. Number four, why do you love reading? Wow, okay. This one I could seriously talk about all day. For me, reading is it's of course that escape, but there's something so bizarre about the fact that you can open a book, and usually for me, those first few pages or chapter or so, the words on the page just still feel like words. But all of a sudden, something switches in your brain, and your brain starts to visualize and create these characters and create this scene, and you forget you're reading. You just get completely immersed in this whole world. You go to the places that they're at. You get to travel. You become the armchair traveler. You get to meet all these characters and hear their innermost thoughts, and they become your friends, and it's a beautiful thing. Number 5, what book or series got you into reading? I call these the regressive reads, or nostalgia reads. I've been recently rebuying some of the books from my childhood that made me fall in love with reading and that really stood out to me. So I've been rebuying those so that I can revisit them as an adult and then also use them for referencing when things like this come up. So I figure it's better to show than just tell. 2 books come to mind for this. Number 1, Inkheart by Cornelia Funk. This book is so freaking cool. We read it in middle school. Our teacher read it aloud to us, and I think that was my first experience with like an audiobook, if you will, and I just really fell in love with being read aloud to. It's such a cool concept of a book. There is an evil ruler who escapes from the boundaries of a book, landing in our main character's living room. So all of a sudden her real life has become what she experiences in fairy tales. Next up is a book that most people don't realize was a book before it was a movie. I think both are fantastic, but very different. It is Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine. So our dear Ella of Frel is born into this fairy tale community, and I do mean fairies. Once she's born, she is given a gift by the head fairy, and that gift is the gift of obedience. So that means she has to do everything people say, whether she likes to or not. And it's just kind of a quest for her of how to overcome this curse. It's more of a curse than a gift for sure. So it's a quest for her to kind of discover who she is, a bit of a coming of age, and just how to banish this curse. So I just really loved both of these books as a kid, and I have so much love for them getting me into reading, and clearly I love a fairy tale. Number 6, what questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? So I'm gonna kind of branch out of this question and make it a little bit my own, because I don't necessarily have like a full list of favorite booktubers yet. There's a few that I really like, but I'm new to watching booktube as well. Like I said, I mostly spend my time scrolling on TikTok. So for this in particular, I would just say for like the booktuber community in general, I would have a zillion questions, of course, about like editing and all of that boring stuff, because I want to know how they do it and how they do it quickly and efficiently, and you know, like the best platforms to use, like what's the best software, what's the best this and that. I would love to know all of that, best recording equipment, you know, all of that would be great. But in a more exciting way to approach the question, I think I would really love to ask them what they wish they would have known or done when they started their booktube. So maybe it's just advice like be yourself and expanded upon that. But I would really like to ask a lot of booktubers that, because I think I give a lot of that kind of advice for TikTok and Instagram. So I would really like to know, being the newbie over here, what they wish they knew in the beginning, or you know, any advice they have for other newbies. Number 7, what challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? At first, I thought it was definitely going to be coming up with the content and, you know, just having it be long enough, because it's usually much longer, obviously, than the minute you're posting on TikTok or Instagram. But I'm not having any difficulty with that, of course, being the chatty Cathy that I am. Now that I've dabbled in a few videos, I would say the biggest challenges, of course, are the editing. And that's a boring answer. Let's go with the fun one. Actually, let's not go with the fun one. Let's go with an honest one. I would say coming up with content and editing it in a way that isn't boring. I have this fear that because I'm talking about books for so long or rambling and I really get to show like more of who I am and I'm just talking to the camera, I don't get to see your expressions, you know, I don't get to hear you say like, yeah, oh, totally. Like I don't get to hear that feedback. And I have to wait for it later through the comments or the likes or subscribes. So it's a lot different and it's not as real time. So I just really hope that like, that it's not gonna be boring for people. Like that's gonna be the hardest challenge. It's like, how do I make it exciting? How do I make it fun? And I don't know, keep my sense of self. Number 8, when did you start reading? I've always been a reader girly for the most part. I am the youngest of a large family. I'm the youngest of 7. And I feel like I really turned to books because my siblings were closer in age and they had each other. I grew up very religious, not anymore. But I couldn't even watch TV growing up, so books were my everything. And as far as the when, my mom loves to tell everyone the story of when I went to kindergarten, all of those kids were going to kindergarten to learn how to read. And on my first day of class, I like showed up with a book and like read it to the class. I don't know when I started reading before that, but apparently I've always been a bit of that like Hermione know-it-all. Where do I read? So this is my cozy reading chair that I brought now from 2 homes. This is my primary reading location, but I definitely read a lot on my Kindle in bed before I go to sleep. And then I do a ton of audiobooks. So I'm super into listening to audiobooks when I drive, when I work out, and when I clean. Like if I'm doing any of those like monotonous, boring activities, anytime I'm by myself, we do a lot of driving too. I listen to my audiobooks. Omar loves his podcasts in the car, or he loves like the same playlist of like 5 songs that drives me bonkers. I put in my headphones and I do an audiobook. Number 10, what kind of books do you like to read? Through and through, I'm definitely a mood reader, which is why I rebranded my book club to the Moody Readers Book Club, because every month we just read a new mood. But a lot of my moods tend to be the same moods that I just, you know, fluctuate between. I'm definitely a huge romance reader, but if I read 2, 3, 4 romances in a row, they just start to not hit as hard. Like they don't have that same impact for me. And so I need to find something with a little less like happily ever after. And that's usually when I pick up like a thriller. So, you know, just after so much love, you need a little murder, right? But I do really, really love fantasy, and I used to read almost exclusively fantasy, so I want to get back into reading more fantasy, but I do find it very difficult to also read too much fantasy in a row, especially if I'm reading different series. Like that world building really takes a toll on my brain sometimes, and I just kind of need a break from it. So, I mean, I'm all over the place. I'll read anything. I do read some nonfiction. I've been reading some poetry. I read, you know, dystopian, fantasy, young adult, new adult. I read some children's fiction. But I would say, primarily a fiction reader first and foremost. And last but not least, the most fun question on here is, what does your book collection look like? So we right now are in my home library. I am in the process of scanning in all the books into an app to categorize and catalog them. So I know exactly how many books I have, how many books of those I've purchased, and how many were like gifted by publishers, and every little like detail that I can think of. So if they have a sprayed edge, if they're signed, if they're from, you know, Fairy Loot, Illumicrate, LitJoy, just any sort of little special thing that I can think of, I am tagging it in that app so that it'll be super organized. But I am not even halfway done with that. So I will just give you a visual look at what my book collection looks like, and soon I will be able to give you an update of the exact numbers. All right, starting with the least glamorous part, this is what I look at when I'm filming. This here is my library cart. So this is from an actual school. My friend rescued it, I'll say. This is where I keep my TBR. So right now that is my spooky season TBR, everything I've read this month. And then these are books that are incoming that I need to put away on the shelves. So that's kind of what's going on here. Once this is a little bit more cleared, this will, you know, gravitate onto the cart so that there's not mess on the floor. And then this is my bookish gallery wall, by the way, that I'm building. And then moving on to the fun part here, this is my library. So it has 3 walls. When you come down the hallway, it has this shelf up here that is where I'm gonna be putting my sprayed edges eventually. It does need some extra support right now, so when I get a ladder built, I am planning on getting that reinforced. So for right now, we have some lightweight pumpkins. And then I have kind of 3 systems of organization for my book collection. This first wall here that goes also around the corner, all of this is organized by series and by genre within that. So we've got like young adult romance, and then in here it's basically all fantasy, but this is vampires, this is witches, and then this is just fantasy, dystopia, and other. Then this big back wall, that's the, whoops, that you primarily see here in videos. From here to here, down those 2, that is all organized alphabetically by author. And that's because all of these are not in a series. So you can see the little tags here. And so these are all either standalones or books that maybe if it is in a series, I only have 1. So that's what those are here. And in the corner there, we've got classics. So I call it Classics Corner. They go all the way down, and then I collect editions of Anne of Green Gables and Little Women. So that's what's happening there. And then around there, you can see I've got some of my Once Upon a Book Club books. And last but not least, around the window here, apologies for the bad lighting, starting up here all the way down is all of my advanced reader copies up to right there. So they're either ARCs or just gifted books from publishers that I am working my way through reading. And then I've got comics, graphic novels, and magazines here, Omar's books, and then these 2 sections here are for my book club. So that is everything we have read since 2018 up until right now. And that is the booktube newbie tag. I hope you learned a few things about me. I have a question now for all of you. I would really love to know who your favorite booktubers are so that I can start watching their content, learning more about booktube, and meeting some new friends and just getting some new inspiration on the platform. So please comment down below some of your favorite booktubers. I'm gonna check them all out and subscribe to their content. And if you haven't already, please make sure to hit like on this video and subscribe. It helps me out so much. As I said, I am trying my darndest over here, and any support that I can receive from all of you really, really helps. Thanks for hanging out, and happy reading.